work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome. Glad you are with us live here on this January 5th, 2026. Happy New Year. We are glad to be back. We've been off now for about 10 days or so. And, you know, there was the urge to come back to the news desk several times, but I kept saying, nope, not going to do it. I got to stay focused on what I'm trying to accomplish during this break. And that included finishing up my Revelation commentary. I was pulling on some days 8 to 12 hours editing on my Revelation commentary. I'm thankful to say it is now completed, had it handed off to our grammatical editor. And in a few weeks, we should be announcing how you can get a hold of the entire commentary and study guide for the book of Revelation that I spent a year and a half teaching through. And Lord willing, I'll start this Sunday night on the book of Daniel. Spent some of this break studying the book of Daniel and ready to go. It's going to be a timely study, living in a hostile environment and maintaining yet your godly world view, how to respond to tyrannical governments. There's so much in the book of Daniel that I think will apply to us today. So I spent quite a bit of time during the break studying on the book of Daniel and the Bible character, Daniel. Well, a lot happened in the news while we were gone. Venezuela, I want to talk about that. It looks like Iran is going to get hit perhaps again by the U.S. and Israel in a joint strike. As we know, we just had Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago with the president. We'll be joined here in a moment by Aaron, our reporter on the ground in Israel. I'm very happy about the Venezuela situation. Yes, there are a lot of questions swirling around. He seemed as though he is in good spirits, he being Maduro. I'm seeing a lot of pictures, him posing with DEA agents and others, thumbs up sign, wishing people on video as he was taken into the DEA center, good night and Happy New Year. His wife was smiling. I don't know. Is this all cover? Was he for this? Was he in favor of this? I don't know. I even read the proceedings, how his wife was holding on to the arm of the federal marshal in court today to stand up. I saw a couple of the agents patting him on the shoulder when they helped him out of the armored vehicle, and he had a little trouble getting up out of that armored vehicle, and he got up, and then one of them patted him on the shoulder a couple times, like, good job. I don't know, the body language, his body language and the body language around him, of the people around him, doesn't seem that hostile. To the contrary. So I don't know. Was this a gentleman, or should I say an individual, looking for a way out? Was he perhaps more afraid of his vice president and the cartels than the U.S. government? Is he going to switch, flip state's evidence? I don't know. I have no idea. But these are all legitimate questions. It just seems a little interesting, doesn't it? Thumbs up sign and pictures. So we'll find out. He claims in the court hearing today that he was kidnapped, and apparently his wife was injured, bruised, ribs, etc. He asked the judge if he could take notes and if they would be preserved for him. The judge said, you're entitled to those. And at the end of the court hearing, he handed off his notes to a federal marshal. Again, here, like his personal assistant. I don't know. The whole thing has a funny ring to it, doesn't it? So we'll follow and watch that. But I'm very happy about this. And here's why. Because any of you going back into our archive, and you can do so at worldviewtube.com, type in missiles in Venezuela. You'll find programs starting in 2010. What is that now? 16 years ago? 16 years I've been warning over and over about missiles in Venezuela, Iranian missiles in Venezuela. Wait a minute, Iran? Huh. And of course, we know that we have Iran, Russia, China, Hezbollah, all operating in Venezuela, in our hemisphere, in our backyard. How many times have I said that in 16 years? How many times have you heard me say this? Hey, you know, Caracas, northern Venezuela, is 1,264 miles as a crow flies to Miami. How many times have you heard me say that? Over and over. This has been a drum we've been beating since 2010. How many times have I said, I'm concerned Venezuela could become a Venezuelan missile crisis the way we had a Cuban missile crisis in the 60s. And finally, someone took some action. President Donald J. Trump. I wrote an article about it. It's at worldviewtimes.com, worldviewtimes.com. Wrote an article about why I'm thankful for this. I think it not only makes us safer, and yet there's more to be done in Venezuela. You still have a rogue Marxist element running that country and military. But at least this is a start, and perhaps it sends a signal to Russia and China and Iran that we're not going to tolerate you setting up military bases in our backyard. Marco Rubio has come out and warned Cuba. President Trump has said Cuba is next. That's just 90 miles off our coast of Florida. President Trump, rightly from his address at Mar-a-Lago, a room that we actually spent many, many hours in, that room he gave his press conference on Venezuela, that is a room we set up shop in. All of our cameras and switchers, and we spent about 11 and a half hours in that room. So we knew exactly the layout there of Mar-a-Lago and where he was. Kind of brought back good memories of our time there. And he rightly referenced the Donroe Doctrine. Now some are referring to it as the Donroe Doctrine. We're not going to allow other countries to set up shop in our backyard. We're certainly not going to allow enemy states to set up shop in our backyard. Bring in missiles. You know, in 2010, I began to warn about these 5,000 man pads, ground-to-air missiles that could be launched, easily smuggled into the country, take down an airliner, and other things. We should not allow this. So I'm thankful. I know a lot of people can say, well, he didn't have the legal authority to do that. Well, I'm listening to some guys who say, yeah, he actually did. As commander-in-chief, he had the legal authority to deal with this. Well, we can let the historians and the courts argue that point. I'm just thankful now, really for the first time in 16 years, we're seeing some movement on this issue of Venezuela. Not to mention the people that have gone missing, that have been murdered. People that showed up on the wrong app, showed up on the wrong social media platform, and then found themselves being kidnapped off the street. You know, Maduro, in his remarks today, made the comment about being kidnapped. I was kidnapped. Now, again, is he just going along with the cover here? Or is he really someone who is not happy that he was taken out of the country? I don't know yet if this is all cover. If this was a way for he and his wife to get out alive. I don't know. But he mentioned he was kidnapped. Okay, you want to talk about kidnapping? Can we talk about the many Venezuelans that were kidnapped off the street because they found themselves on the wrong social media platform talking about the regime? Can we talk about the number of Venezuelans that were being starved? Now, I'm not talking about all of them. Can we talk about the Venezuelans that are celebrating because they don't want to live under Marxism? Not only those celebrating in Venezuela, but in America. And apparently the mainstream corporate media doesn't want to show pictures of that, of those celebrations, because many of them are aligned with the Marxist worldview. In fact, they just had little to say about Mondani being sworn in at midnight the other night on the Quran and promoting the idea of we're moving away from rugged individualism and we're going to collectivism. That's socialism, folks. That's the economic philosophy of Karl Marx. Now, reportedly, I've seen a video today, we'll show it tonight on Brand House Live, of one of his folks talking about landlords and those that have private property, and that you're in for a big shock. You're about to find out that you don't own that property. The bourgeoisie, the property class. This is going to be taken over by the proletariat, the working class. Well, it's not really the working class because they've declared war on the working class, the working man and woman in America. Really what they're doing is taking from one and giving to others, people who are not the workers' class, the proletariat. Most of them are the welfare class who don't want to work. America's about to get a lesson in Marxism and Islam. And if you will join me in watching what happens in New York and then think about that happening all over the nation. And that's what would have happened under a Kamala Harris administration. So there are things of which I pray would go differently in the Trump administration. But I'm so thankful this January 5th, 2026, that we're on the air. We're broadcasting. Because the Trump administration has had a strong position on the issue of free speech, freedom of religion. Are there areas where we disagree? Absolutely. That's the great thing about America. We can disagree, but we can also rightfully praise what needs to be praised. And we said from day one, that's exactly what we're going to do, just call balls and strikes. I don't know what President Trump and the administration are going to do with Mamdani. I don't know what the courts will do, but we're all going to watch. But the people of New York may find themselves in the situation where they're celebrating their freedom one day, like the folks in Venezuela are. And God forbid we have that kind of person come to power in the U.S. Then we're all going to get a real lesson in Marxism and Islam, the red-green axis. The black-green axis. The black is now pretty much anybody that is opposed to America and American ideals. Well, that brings us to Iran. We've been following that. Our broadcast partner, Annie Cyrus, has been translating so much from Farsi into English. She'll be with me tonight on Brandon House Live to give a full report because the students and the young people are longing once again for freedom in Iran. There are now talks that the leader, the supreme leader, as they call him, may be about to leave and head to Moscow. What does that tell you about Russia? Far too many people in the MAGA world that are a little too pro-Putin, in my opinion. But we're watching what's now going on in Iran and those young people. But sadly, there are people being killed, young people being killed because they simply want freedom. The prince, the Shah's son, is ready to go back and to lead that country. And many of them are shouting and chanting his name and want him back. And this is all on the heels of course, Benjamin Netanyahu being at Mar-a-Lago and perhaps a U.S.-Israeli strike on Iran again. We'll go and come back right to our reporter in Israel. We'll be right back. Go to worldviewtalk.com. Get your satellite phone like I have, because you know what? China is in on our power grid. That is a matter of proven fact. If you want to have communications with your loved ones, your family, your children, maybe your spouse travels, maybe you have a child away at college, you want communication should the grid go down. That's why you need a satellite phone, worldviewtalk.com. But look what else they have. They also have solar generators. I have one of their solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400, a solar generator. So I can, of course, charge my satellite phone. I can run my coffee pot. I can run my whole house if I want to. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com, or use that number, 1-866-738-3224. They have very friendly operators that will explain to you their products, but you can explain to them what it is you're desiring to acquire. How much electricity are you wanting to generate with this solar generator? Well, they'll tell you what size you need. Worldviewtalk.com or 1-866-738-3224. And welcome back. Glad you are with us. Worldview Radio, worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com. You'll find all of our radio, TV, articles, everything there. I have a brand new book out, friends. That's Glenn Campbell. Glenn Campbell. I have a new song for you, friends. That's how I used to talk. I got a new book out for you based on my 4 hours on Christian Zionism. Remember me doing the last broadcast of the year on that? Why I'm a Christian Zionist. Well, I worked on that over the Christmas, New Year break. Got that written into a book. And that will be up in the vault today for members. You don't need to buy it. It's about close to 100 pages. So it's not a long read. You could do it in one sitting. And one that you could very easily then share this information with family and friends. And there are a lot of people asking questions about, well, what is Zionism? What is Christian Zionism? Well, what about my pastor who says that God's done with Israel and the Jewish people? What about those who say, well, if there's a plan for the nation of Israel and God has a plan for the Jewish people, why is it not mentioned in one verse in the New Testament? That's what one author that I take on in the book has said. Apparently he doesn't realize Romans chapter 11, that's the New Testament. That book, nearly 100 pages, will be in the vault today. Available again. You don't need to purchase it for vault members at worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Also spent 10, 12 hours a day, as I said, working on the commentary for Revelation. We'll get that out. And then yesterday, I worked many hours on a new book that is based on one of my TV programs. Because basically what I do is I spend a lot of time working and researching and building keynote presentations. And then I present it. And then I have all this research and I can turn it into a book. And so I worked several hours yesterday on what will be multiple chapters of a new book that'll be out here in the next month or so called Transhumanism is Eugenics. Transhumanism is Eugenics. That will be a new book out very soon. You will not need to buy it. How often do you hear an author say that? You don't need to buy my book. You will not need to buy it. It will be in the vault for members as a PDF at worldviewtube.com/vault. Of course, while we were on the break there, we have the federal government pumping billions of dollars into the banking system. Liquidity issues. Gold shooting up, silver going straight up, crossing over the $80 mark. Now we're around, I don't know, $4,400 an ounce, thereabout for gold, $77 an ounce for silver. Very interesting in and of itself. The banks, again, liquidity issues. And this is, again, how the government deals with it, printing more money. And then we have the fraud out of Minnesota. Apparently, this is looking to be about $1 billion fraud out of the state of Minnesota, but we're now finding out this is actually going on all over the country. People over the Christmas, New Year break were doing something I've never seen before. There was a chorus of voices, and many of them big influencers on social media, lots and lots of followers, hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million or more, some of them, and they're all saying they're not paying taxes in 2026. They're done. They're out. They're no longer going to pay, at least for this year, they will not be paying federal income tax. Well, all right, all I can say is good luck with that. I understand the sentiment, but that's not what I recommend because, of course, that will be used by the deep state, much of which is still in operation in the government to go after people. But I have never seen in my lifetime so many voices of well-known conservative, America First, broadcasters, podcasters talking about why people should all be involved in this tax revolt. And again, I don't disagree with them. I just think you better be very careful, particularly if you're someone like me. So others, you know, I think that guy called into this program saying he hadn't paid taxes in years. Well, my guess is the amount of money he was going to pay in is so small. And he is not on the radar, so it's not a threat for him. I know other people who say they haven't paid taxes in years. I don't know how they're still walking around. But I'm not interested in finding that one out. I'm going to pay my taxes. But I do understand why many are frustrated, and I'm thankful people are waking up to the fraud of the Federal Reserve, to the fraud and the hidden tax and the theft of inflation. And as I've been saying on this broadcast for some time, when you combine all the fraud, it really equals what we pay in federal income taxes. If you eliminated all the fraud, not to mention all the unconstitutional things we're funding, there would be no need for a federal income tax. I actually wrote an article over the break on how we could and should be funding anything we need for a federal government through tariffs. President Trump is now talking about what is like brought in and yet to be collected, $600 billion in tariffs. Hey, if it works, I'm all for it. Let's get rid of the federal income tax. I would rather pay more for products due to countries tacking on increased cost of goods to cover tariffs. I would rather pay more for a product than I would to have around the IRS that can be used as a Gestapo to punish Americans. But then you add in what may or may not come out of Venezuela with all of their minerals and oil. I don't know. But if you need to pave the roads, then I say put in tolls. If you want to take a trip on an airplane and you need to pay for the FAA, I say charge it to the person flying. I won't be paying that directly because I don't fly anymore. I guess I'll be paying it when I buy the tickets for my various speakers that come in and out. But that service should be paid for by those who use it. We need to go to more of a fee-based system. Maybe that's more of a libertarian idea. I don't know. But we need to stop with this federal income tax. And we can pay for a lot of this by cutting out all the fraud. But of course, that will go right to the bank account of the deep staters who use this system to enrich themselves. And isn't that exactly what Frederick Bastiat warned about in his classic book, The Law? That should be required reading for every American student, but it won't be because it is too much common sense. But he warns how the politicians will plunder for themselves and their special interest or for what they think are philanthropic purposes. But that's not the function of government. So over the break, lots of talk about tax revolt and people not paying their taxes. I don't know. Is President Trump going to come out and say, as he did, the federal income tax may be soon a thing of the past, and we're going to fund it with tariffs, and we're going to fund it with energy, oil, minerals from places like Venezuela and others? I don't know. But I'd say it's time to set up tolls, and let's pay for our roads with tolls. It's time to stop taxing people for living in their house with property tax that they can never shake, to pay for people's kids to go to school. I don't want to pay for my neighbor's kids to go to school. My neighbor should pay for their own child to go to school, not me. And parents shouldn't have to pay twice for an educational system that they're not using and then turn around and pay for a private school or to homeschool. It's time we go back to basics of freedom. I see Florida's even talking about getting rid of the license registration on your car. It is indeed time to find the creative and more constitutional ways to generate the revenue, but that will require cutting down the size of government at both the state and federal level. Now we have the governor of Minnesota saying he's not running for re-election. I'm all for, again, taking care of criminals and drug dealers and traffickers, narco-terrorists. And I'm concerned about what Venezuela may or may not have been doing when it comes to voter fraud. But we need to take care of some of these criminals in our own country. Where are the arrests of the criminals in our own country? And the indictments and the perp walks? The clock is ticking. Well, let's go to our reporter on the ground in Israel, because this brings up the issue again, Venezuela and Iran. There is a connection. And Netanyahu was just at Mar-a-Lago. He was there on New Year's Eve. Let's talk to our reporter on the ground, brought to you by our foundation at worldviewfoundation.com, Aaron Lavarco. Aaron, Happy New Year. Welcome back to the broadcast.
Happy New Year, and great to see you and great to be with you, Brandon.
You too, my friend. All right. So what are your thoughts, if I can, on what President Trump and his administration and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, just did? Very quick, decisive strike, not a quagmire like Vietnam drawn out in Venezuela, grabbed the guy and his wife and came out. How do you think this relates to Israel when we're talking about Iran setting up shop, Russia, China, Hezbollah in Venezuela? How does this impact you as an Israeli?
Oh, incredibly huge, Brandon, because firstly, this operation has been planned for a long time. That's come out in the news with the Mossad, the CIA. This is with the Green Berets, a brilliant calculated move, number one. Number two, as far as Israel being connected here, Venezuela and Iran are proxies together. Now, Venezuela haven't been one of the fronts that have been fighting against us, but Venezuela are one of the largest oil producers, if not the largest oil producer in the world. And they have money. Who needs money? Iran needs money. And they have been close allies with Iran for years. And, you know, I heard someone put it this way, like the story of Joseph with the dream to Pharaoh, there'd be 7 good years and then there would be 7 lean years. Well, I think with what we've been seeing in this last few days, Brandon, I think the good years for Iran are over. I think they are now facing lean years with the pulling down of Venezuela. Trump and Netanyahu, no doubt, they were talking about it when Trump was in Florida. When they were both in Florida. No doubt they were talking about it. The big question is what's next? If Trump is going after the president of Venezuela, he's threatening Mexico. He's threatening, who else did you mention?
Cuba.
Cuba, because they're all involved in drug smuggling, the mafia, corruption. And of course, you know, so many nations are criticizing Trump for doing this by saying it's illegal. Our left-wing liberals are saying the same. But I'm telling you, this has created such a stir of optimism. You know, we're waiting for the Ayatollah to actually be taken out because I'm sure you heard, Trump said that if the protesters going out on the streets in Iran, if they are killed or attacked, we will defend them. And since he's made that statement, there's been about 16, at least, Iranians have been murdered. Let's see what Trump does. And because of those threats, like you mentioned, word out on the street and the news is that the Ayatollah is planning on going to Moscow.
Hold right there. We'll come back. Hard break. Computer's going to take it away. Aaron Lavarco, our reporter on the ground in Israel, be back with more. Don't go away.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Here we are on January 5th, 2026. I'm mentioning that so you know we're all here. We're live. We're back. And we're glad you are with us. Hey, be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk coming up at the top of the hour on the VCY America Radio Network on over 100 nations, 100 stations nationwide. If you do not have one of their terrestrial stations in your market, you can find them at vcy.org, vcy.org. Speaking of the Milwaukee area where they're headquartered, VCY, we will be bringing, Lord willing, our 23rd annual Worldview Weekend to Milwaukee in October. And it's going to be absolutely free. We've never made our national conference free because it's so expensive to bring in all the speakers, their flights, their hotels, their honorariums. The building alone for 2 days, that Friday night and Saturday, will cost us $10,000. So we'll take, of course, a few free will love offerings, and we'll hopefully be able to break even on that. And yet we are planning that for October of this year. In the next, I would say, week or two, we should have the page up where you're going to be allowed to start registering for that. It will be free, but you will need to register for it. And we'll be announcing some of the speakers that will be at this year's 22nd annual Worldview Weekend National Conference. Let's go back to our reporter on the ground in Israel, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com, Aaron Lavarco. Aaron, so the supreme leader, as they call him, of Iran is talking about getting out of town and going to Moscow. That should tell you everything you need to know about Putin's worldview, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We know that, and we know biblical prophecy. We know that probably Russia are going to play a major role in future events. But let me say something that is quite sobering for us here in Israel. While there is optimism and hope, because this is going to trickle down, Brandon, you know, Hezbollah are going to be stopped being funded because Iran fund Hezbollah. The Houthis, I'm sure you've been following Israel's recognition of Somaliland. What a brilliant tactical move that was, because Somaliland is right on the border of Yemen. So the Houthis are going to be closer looked at and monitored. Not to mention Hamas in Judea and Samaria. So the Iran, who are funded by Venezuela, they are going to probably run out of ammunition and money to provide all of these proxies. So while that's good news for us here, right now we are on pretty high alert because there is rapport that perhaps, the Iranians, the Ayatollah, will strike. And we're not talking necessarily about nuclear here. One of our major concerns is since the 12-day war, approximately 6 months ago, Iran have been heavily stockpiling thousands of missiles, including ballistic missiles. So we are on high alert, and our reservists have once again been told to be on standby. People have been called up, and there are big concerns that if Iran sees that their days may be numbered, I don't think it's at that place yet, but they may go out all guns blazing. So there is a level of urgency and nervousness among our people at the moment.
Well, they're saying that this attack could come in the next 72 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And furthermore, reports that I've been reading by some of our generals is we're not ready. We're not ready for that. Now, I've been reading articles about not only our Iron Dome, but we actually have in place, in a number of places, your laser, yeah. The laser dome. It's up. It's ready. I don't know to what capacity, but certainly it wouldn't be enough capacity to take hundreds or even thousands of missiles at one given go. But anything could break out. This is a concern. And actually, I'll tell you what really concerns me. And I know you don't want to hear this, but there's no American Navy over here like it has been in the past. That gave us a sense of security. It also sent out a message to the Iranians and Hezbollah. But I guess we're going to have to trust not only in our government and in our military, but in the good Lord, and that's where I think it's a good place to be.
And of course, I haven't even brought up Taiwan. While we were on break, China was carrying out some kind of military exercise again around Taiwan. So it is, there is so much going on the planet, in the Bible yet says in the last days, there'll be wars and rumors of wars and all kinds of things going on. And here we are reporting on it. I do want to ask you prophetically, though, what do you think this means for the Ezekiel 38-39 scenario that includes Persia, Iran? Now, we know that Persia was broken up and cut up into various nations that we know today. And so the Bible referencing Persia could be many nations that aren't in the geographical area that they are today. Because I think that many nations came together to form what is modern day Iran, correct?
Correct. Yes. Different factions, different nations. Correct. The ancient Persia is one thing. The modern day Iran is something very different, and especially this Iran that is basically controlled by the regime, the IRGC, and hopefully, we're seeing Iranians out on the streets. We're hearing our prime minister giving words of encouragement to the people of Iran. We want to see them liberated. The Shah of Iran, his son, he's in London at the moment. He's being hailed as, the next leader. I think the people are ready for him to take over. My concern is that the people out on the streets, they don't have enough weapons in Iran. And let's hope that the Mossad, the CIA, that they're working in a clandestine way, that they are somehow providing weapons, or maybe that's what the son of the ex-Shah is doing in London. But it's interesting because there's no other nation, apart from the United States, that is really voicing any kind of support for this revolution going on in Iran. They're all very silent. Maybe once it's over, maybe once the Ayatollahs are out, maybe then they might come up and say something. I'm quite disappointed, actually, because the people of Iran, they deserve freedom. The stories that I'm hearing, similar to the stories in Venezuela, the people of Venezuela, they're weeping with gratitude for your president, what he has done. The suffering, the torture, the rape over literally decades is just unbelievable. And then what did we hear? The president of Venezuela says, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. We have a word, it's called chutzpah. That is a total chutzpah to come out and say, I'm innocent. Shame on him.
Yeah. Here's a headline from the Jerusalem Post. IDF warns of Iranian plot to assassinate Syria's president as regional tensions rise. Now, talk to me about that, because the president of Syria has been brought to the White House. Many of us didn't like some of the comments. He's a handsome guy, all this kind of stuff. Of course, he was part of basically what would be ISIS. He has blood on his hands. And of course, many are saying we arrest Maduro, but we bring this guy to the White House. So some people are a little concerned about the standard, but of course, I understand in politics, things are very confusing. Sometimes the enemy of my enemy becomes my friend. So no one ever said that this is a clean business to be in when you're in the room having to make very difficult decisions. But something clearly is going on that has got Iran upset with the leader of Syria, which again may be playing into why Israel and America were trying to use this guy to their advantage. Any thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is so big, what's going on. What we've seen in the last 2-3 years, just unbelievable. The whole collapse of Syria has created an incredible vacuum. And we know that this guy, Jolani al-Shahar, he's taken over, but he is not going to last. From what I'm hearing and reading, he's not going to last. There's too many other factions, the Kurds, the Alawites, the Druze, and even Turkey wanting to come in from the north. But here's the key where I believe why the Iranians want him out. That passage through Syria is exactly the passage that the Iranians need to provide ammunition and money all the way to Hezbollah in Lebanon and all the way to Hamas here in Israel. That passageway, that vacuum that he is in control of, the president of Syria. And America know this. Israel know this, and that's why they're cooperating with him. That's why right now, as we're talking in, I believe it's Paris, France, Israeli delegates are meeting with American and Syrian delegates, and they seem to be getting on quite fine. So while we don't want to trust the president of Syria with everything, we do have some interest here, and that's guarding that whole route right through. Since this war began, we took over the whole of Mount Hermon. That is such a strategic location. Now, the president of Syria, he wants us to give that back. No way are we going to give it back because of what I'm saying. That passageway all the way from the east through, from the west to the east through Syria is the key passageway that the Iranians feed ammunition and money and even soldiers to Hezbollah and to Hamas. So, for the time being, let's keep the Syrians in power there, but let's keep an eye on them for sure.
1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Now, the music is going to start up here any second and start playing. But while folks are getting on board, your thoughts, your comments, your questions in the new year on anything we've been discussing here, 1-800-347-9829. There's so much we can talk about, but one of them here is why Christians are disappearing across the Middle East, but they're thriving in Israel. That's an article from Israel 365 News. Christians disappearing across the Middle East. Wonder what that would be. Oh, yeah, Islam. But they're thriving in Israel. What do the anti-Semites have to say about this? All the Islamic apologist anti-Semites have to say about this. Christians being murdered by Islamists, but they're thriving in Israel. And yet all we hear from so many so-called, quote, Christians, end quote, in America, a lot of them, is nothing but defense of Islam and trashing of the Jewish state. That's a great headline. I want Aaron, to comment on that. We come back very quickly so we can then go to your calls. 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. We've also asked Aaron, as a licensed tour guide for more than 3 decades, to file some more reports from Israel, taking us on a tour, and he's done that. We'll be bringing some of those to you. And very soon, Logan says we have now enough reports from Aaron to launch a 24/7 Israel channel very soon. Your call is next.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions. I guess there's a, by the way, here in Tennessee, I guess they're opening up. Have you guys seen this? They're in the control room. Apparently they're opening up, I saw the news, a big silver smelter deal to process metals financed by JP Morgan, jointly owned by the U.S. Department of Defense. Okay, this is again where I'm going to have to say I'm a little concerned when I start seeing our government buying up percentages in businesses. This is becoming a trend, the public-private partnership. But it's going to be in Tennessee, so I guess it's going to provide some serious jobs. And one has to wonder how many of these minerals are going to be coming out of Venezuela into the U.S. to be processed, and of course then going to either the open market or our own industries, both military as well as public-private partnerships, think data centers, and away from China. We'll get into that tonight. Let's first go to the phone lines, 1-800-347-9829. Speaking of Tennessee, Randy, line 1, calling in from Tennessee. Hello, Randy.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, with all these sleeper cells that have come in under Joe Biden, you know, we had that trainload of ammonium nitrate come up missing. Has anybody ever heard anything else about that? And, I mean, I kind of think about it, kind of wonder.
You know, that's a great question. The news cycle runs so fast, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. I don't know what went on with that. Some were saying it was leaking out and got dispersed. We don't have to worry about it. I don't know about that. There are other theories, but you, Randy, you bring up a very good point. Where is all that? And the terror cells. You know, what's very interesting to fit that in with what Randy's saying, I see an article here from the Jerusalem Post. There are indications the U.S. weighing Iran intervention. Israel also checking if removal of Maduro will make action against Iran regime possible. Now, wait a minute. Israel checking if removal of Maduro will make action against Iran regime possible. Why would we have to have Israel checking on that? I think that fits with Randy's question. Potential terror cells. Is there a concern about the terror cells in the U.S. and their connection there in Venezuela? And we've talked about Margarita Island, where many of them were being trained and reportedly sent here into the U.S. Aaron, very quickly, before we go back to the phone lines, isn't that interesting? Israel wants to know if, hey, now that you got Maduro, can we move on Iran? Again, the connection between Venezuela and Iran and our problems as a nation here in America and yours in Israel.
Is it correct, Brennan, that there were some terror training cells?
Yes, Margarita Island.
There you go. Absolutely. So our Mossad, your CIA, I'm sure they're right in on it. They're up to speed. And this is probably that article that they're checking. That's where I think you're right onto it.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Robert. Again, phone lines open, 1-800-347-9829. Your thought, your comments, your questions, 1-800-347-9829. Really, anything you want to bring up, you're free to do that. Let's go to Robert in Wisconsin. I think, Wisconsin, line 4. Hello, Robert. Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year to you, Brandon. And to Aaron, Shalom, Shana Tahav. How are you?
Shalom.
It's good. It's a good thing to hear your voice. I saw a picture of you and Aaron and what's his name? I can't believe it. I go to church with him. The director for VCY.
Oh, Jim Schneider. Jim Schneider.
Dalton.
Dalton. Our board op. Yep.
Yeah. He was in the center. Aaron was to his right, and you were to his left.
I remember that.
And
picture.
It was a good picture. It was a good picture of you three. You look happy.
We are happy.
Like,
we're happy.
It says in Psalms 133, it is a good thing that brothers dwell together in unity. So, but my call is this. It's a twofold call. I'm starting to wonder about the publicity of President Trump's activities in Mar-a-Lago, especially with the activity that is going on and maybe even the initiation of an attack on his compound there. Hopefully he has an Iron Dome set up down there. I'm just thinking that. And number two, when I was in the military, there was very little that civilians really knew about our capabilities, And when you think of the laser system of Israel and all of the other things that are going on, maybe people are not letting that out of the bag. Maybe they're keeping that under wraps for, the security of, number one, Israel, which I pray for the peace of Jerusalem daily. And I always will. One day I'll end up back there. My family began there.
Amen.
And
I'm going to have to run just because of time, but you bring up a good question. I know President Trump is working hard on our own American version of an Iron Dome, and I would like to think that a lot of the technology that Israel's developing and develops, they're going to share with their ally, America. Jeff in Iowa, line 2. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Brandon. How you doing?
Great, Jeff. Thank you.
I just wanted to call and say welcome back. I appreciate your high motor, and hello to Aaron as well. I listen every day. I drive a feed truck in Iowa. Been wanting to call in many, many times. I actually texted you one time about preterism. It came through our church, and we had to deal with it. I wanted to get your opinion on it. Just also about how Nicki Minaj last week, all these things, to me it's Matthew 7. The narrow gate is showing itself as very narrow. All these people that claim to be Christians but yet are dogging the Israelites, it is just, and dogging Christian Zionism. It's great to have you, and I listen to you every day, and if you ever want to call me on my cell phone, I'd love it. Visit.
Well, you're very kind, Jeff.
On.
You're very kind. Jeff's driving a feed truck. Again, another vital industry he's a part of. Thank you, Jeff, for that. Preterism. Yes, the idea that the rapture's already occurred. Neo was the Antichrist, being promoted by people like Kirk Cameron and others, of course, we've heard now. This is a real problem, no doubt about it. It is not supported by the scriptures at all. And as we showed that in our series on Revelation, and of course, we can get into that more as we get into the book of Daniel and other things. Jeff, thank you so much for your kind call. And of course, I absolutely agree. The apostasy is rising fast. Aaron, in conclusion here on the network, we said, look, we want Tucker Carlson to repent. If not, after a year, we said we're asking God to publicly judge him, right? I'll curse those who curse you. I'll bless those who bless you. And it looks like Tucker Carlson's melting down. The stupidity coming out of him, the foolishness. It is amazing to watch what he's saying and that his influence is being, destroyed. Praise the Lord for that. Take care.
This has been...
And we're back with Aaron out of Israel. Aaron, you want to comment on that? I mean, you go online, the things he's defending now, apparently he's saying just stuff that makes you think, is this guy even playing with a full deck? But you know what? That's what we asked ours to pray for, that God would judge him, not us, not man, but God. And show the world the foolishness of people like Tucker Carlson. And boy, that seems to be happening.
It reminds me of something that you're going to be working on. I heard you say you're going to be doing a study on the book of Daniel.
Yes.
And which was situated in Persia.
That's right.
In what about. But that story of
in Babylon, right? Babylon.
It was more in Iraq rather than Persia. You're right. But, it reminds me of the story of the handwriting on the wall. And where the king was judged, his days were in the everything was in the balance.
Weighed in the balance.
And I believe in the same book where Nebuchadnezzar ended up eating grass like an animal that was alive, but his level of consciousness was not the same on a human level for a certain period until he turned back and came back to his senses. And maybe that's what's happening. He's like you said, some of the things he comes out with, I'm like, does he not listen to himself? Is this is this what a reprobate mind is? And I'm serious.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
It's just not logical, Brandon.
No, it's not.
Things he comes out with.
Nope, it's sure not. It's not logical. There's so much news. I wish we had more time to get to it, but I do want to ask you about some of your reports you filed. You heard me say that Logan says to me last night, hey, we got enough reports from Aaron. I think we can start and launch a 24/7 Israel channel soon featuring Aaron.
I mean, when I heard you say that, I was so excited. I mean, there's just so much to talk about and report about. And, you know, I hope it's okay. I've taken the liberty. One of the talks and videos that I gave this week, it was in the Galilee, I'm not only going for places, I'm going for themes, historical themes, because you did say you wanted it to be a history channel as well.
That's right.
And one of the themes that I've chosen this week is rabbinic Judaism. And I'm talking about how, you know, the connection, because rabbinic Judaism was around a little bit before Jesus. Then he lived in that world where the rabbis and the synagogues, but then, of course, when the temple was destroyed, the rabbis took the place of the priests, because when the Romans destroyed the temple, all of the priestly documents and records were all burned. So we lost the priesthood, we lost the temple, and then we were thrown out of Jerusalem. So the Jewish leaders were facing a crisis. What is Judaism without a temple, without sacrifice for sins, without a priesthood, and without a holy city, Jerusalem? And so they ended up going into the Galilee, and that's where rabbinic Judaism was born. And I think it's a really interesting theme to understand Judaism, especially rabbinic Judaism, which still stands until today. But it just helps us understand the life and times of the New Testament, of the days that Jesus lived. And it really helps us understand more of some of the sayings in the New Testament as well. So I'm going to pick up on other themes, as well as, of course, some of the sites. One of the, oh gosh, I can't even remember the videos that I sent to you, but two were in the Galilee and one was in Jerusalem. I know what it was. It was in the heart of the old city of Jerusalem. I was standing, the theme was on the menorah. I was standing right next to the menorah. We can see it in the video. That will be the menorah, Brandon, that will go in the rebuilt temple whenever that happens. And it's a 100 pounds of gold coated. It's not pure gold.
And where was that? Was it at the Temple Institute? Where was that?
Actually, it's like a few hundred yards from the Temple Institute, but it's actually outside in a special secured glass
I would
cage.
think so. I would think so.
Yeah. And it's right in the heart of the Jewish quarter. And it's made in the shape based from Exodus 25, where God gave the instructions to Moses. 3 branches one side, 3 the other. They had to have almond-shaped cups with flowers on them. And so they made it as best as they could based on the biblical description, the Talmud description. That's going to be the menorah that goes in the temple.
LightToTheNationsMinistry.com, LightToTheNationsMinistry.com. Our reporter on the ground, Aaron Lavarco. Aaron, thank you for being with us. Happy New Year, my friend. We look forward to working with you in 2026.
Absolutely, Brandon. Thank you so much.
And let's pray that this is the year, folks, that this is the year the Lord returns. How about you? Isn't that a great thing to pray? Even so, Lord Jesus, quickly come, and night shall be no more. That's what I'm praying for 2026. But till then, let's occupy, fulfill the Great Commission.